Hey everybody, sorry about that. I don't know why the audio stopped working, but let me know the audio and video looks okay, and we'll get started with the photo editing. But man, I'm not doing anything different. I just turned the computer on. It's really frustrating. So, anywho, everything looks good on my end here. Should be getting audio and um, video. So let me switch over to, oh, hold on. Yeah, there we go. We have the thing, but yeah, somebody let me know in the chat that I'm actually live, and yeah, I should be live, right? All okay? Okay, thank you, John. Oh, wow. All right. So welcome to my photo editing live stream where you can submit your images before the stream starts, and I edit them here for you live using DxO Photolab 9.3 now. We're up to 9.3. And also, I'm an affiliate for DxO, so if you're new to DxO and maybe you have the trial and you want to check it out, you can download a free trial using the links below. Use my affiliate link and my coupon code RobTrek, and you can get an extra 5% off whatever holiday deals they have going on right now. I think it's 20% off if you bundle any two packages. So if you have any questions about that, let me know and I answer them. And I'll try and edit like 2 or 3 photos, then stop and answer any questions you might have. Either, the editing that I did or any of the tools in DxO. Because that's why we're here, right? To try to help each other out. And okay, so all looks good. Okay. So we'll just get into it here. I think, whoops, wrong screen. There we go. All right, so we'll start one here. We have one here, it looks like from Andrew Chen. Beautiful landscape, high up in the mountains, it seems. Okay, so I'll kind of just verbally, I'll just try and talk about what I'm thinking about and my workflow and the tools I'm using on the first few images, just to give you an idea of where I'm going, because I have a lot today. So then from there, I'll just start working through them. But if you have any questions, again, always just leave them in the chat section, and I'll do my best to answer them, every 2 or 3 photos. So, so first thing I look at is just the overall composition and any geometry that I want to fix. And, with landscapes, typically you want to look at the horizon. Horizon looks good, nice and straight, I think. And then the overall exposure and white balance. So the exposure, it's slightly underexposed, but I think partially due, maybe trying to save the highlights, or it doesn't look like you dialed any exposure comp, but you did shoot in full manual, so it looks like you intentionally wanted to make this save the highlights, which is good. We usually have a couple of stops of wiggle room without, running into any problems. And so I'm going to definitely do some brightening here. And also looks like the white balance could be a little warmer, but I think I'll just brighten it up on a linear way, about 1 stop. And it doesn't look like I'm clipping anything here. I have highlight clipping indicators and shadow indicators. So I can move up about 1 stop here without any issues. In fact, I still have a little bit more room here, it looks like. I don't always want to push it all the way to the edge, but since the shadows are pretty dark, I want to try and recover as much of that I can in a linear fashion by just using the exposure slider until it looks about right. Okay. That might be a bit too strong. About there. And then I'm going to try to just warm it up a little bit too. It's just purely subjective. Okay, good. Now, the overall composition, we have a 4:3 aspect ratio by default. So with landscapes, I look at it two different ways, you know, vertical and horizontal, right? And to me, there's not much detail back here. There's a lot of nice foreground, but I'm not crazy about these trees right here. So I might just crop at least to here. Of course, this little road right here is kind of interesting. Let me try, and then let's go to 16:9 and see how much I can keep. Maybe come in on the left side or on the right side, because I'm always conscious of the corners. I like usually a line in the corner if I can get one. And then there's a little bit of a distraction here on the left side, so I'm just going to crop that out. And then I just look at the rule of thirds here and think about the balance of the image. So I try to get 1/3 foreground, about 1/3 in the middle, and 1/3 for the background, just to kind of give you some depth, right? Three-dimensional depth. So I might be able to come up just a little bit higher. Just come in a bit. I like this road here is like there's a little path here too. Whenever I do landscapes and there's a path or a road or something, I try and integrate that into the scene. So this is one option. Another option might be just to go with this one path here leading into this scene here. Maybe do a 5:4. I kind of like that. Let me go back to the 16:9 and just take a quick look. Because I was doing something like this before. Yeah, I'm not sure this road. I think I like the vertical better. So let me try 5:4. And the only reason I choose like these more standard type crops or crop ratios is in case I ever decide to print and frame it. But I think right about here, so we have about 1/3 here, 1/3 in the middle. Let's try and keep this whole path in the 1/3. I think I like this the best. Sort of just minimizes the scene a little bit. And I'm going to just creep over just a tad. Let's try this side. Okay, I think that works. And maybe a slight tilt on the horizon. Okay, perfect. All right, now I'm going to work with the some of the lighting here. I want to bring in a little more contrast here in the foreground and some details in the clouds. But I don't want to lose this sort of hazy background too much. That's part of the mood, I think. So I'm just going to maybe use some local adjustments. I'm going to come in close and put this control point just in a couple of places here. Make these a little smaller. Okay. I'm going to just throw a little more light here and some more warmth. Whenever I brighten an area, I like to add a little bit of warmth to it. And then let's bring in some clear view. Just bring that in and some micro contrast and maybe some contrast too. I'm going to back off the warmth here. Where was that? 58. Let's go to about 64. And then I'm going to warm up the entire image. Just a bit. Okay. And then let's see what these other... I think vivid looks pretty good. All right, I kind of like the lighting right here. So I'm going to emphasize this a bit more. Just by dropping the same control point down. And maybe sort of minimize these a bit. Let's just brighten up this area. Okay, good. Color-wise, maybe let's give it a little vibrancy, maybe. And then let's accentuate some of the yellows. Oh, no, I guess not. Just seeing where the yellows are at. What if I shift those? I shift it just a tiny bit to separate it a little more from the grass. Okay. All right, let's work on the clouds. So we'll just try a control line on this. Or maybe a brush. Let's just brush in here. So we'll make a new mask. I'm just gonna just brush, and let's try some clear view, some micro contrast, and some regular contrast. Okay. And I'm going to try and let's do a little bit to the sky as well. So another control line. Let's make a new mask. Just up in here in the blues. I'm going to tighten up the chroma and the luma so I don't affect the mountains too much. Just try with a little micro contrast. Let's see what clear view does. Yeah, that's good. All right. Then I think the last thing I'll do, let's see. Let me look at this control line again. Let me dial that back. Not getting anywhere with that. So I guess that's okay. Maybe cool it off a bit. Where were we at? 61. Let's go down to 57. There, 58. Okay. And I see a little browns here, but I think we're good. This is a little bit too yellow here. Maybe I can just reset the white balance a little bit there. Let's go back to this control line. I may got it carried away with that color. I'll just give it a little bit. And then I'm going to darken with a new mask. Let's just darken a little bit down in here. And a little bit there. Ooh, too much. Okay, I think I'll call it there. So, we'll compare it to the original. Okay, so here's the original on the left. And I don't know, I just felt like a vertical worked better for this one because it was this road right here that was kind of throwing me off a little bit. And I really like the sidewalk here a little better. So that's why I added some light down in here to kind of draw your eye in here, you know, and color. And then and just picked up the background a little bit, you know, with some details there. So I think that works pretty well. So there's a split. Okay. Let's take a look at the next one here from William. So I have a street scene. Okay, so we need to do a little bit of a correction in the perspective. Let me apply basic. Oh, I forgot. I always apply basic preset first normally. I forgot to do that on the last one, but let's see. That one didn't really need a much, or the basic preset wouldn't have done much anyway. Okay, let's try the automatic perspective correction. Okay, that's good. And I'm going to bring up the light to see what's in here. So we'll keep this street lamp, maybe, because it's creating this light right here and on the rocks. And then this light, I like the stairs shadow here with the railing. I don't know if I need to keep that. I think right in here is where most of the interesting stuff is. I like this tree up here. Up here I think is a separate shot. All right, so, but this is kind of an interesting line coming here. I need to adjust the perspective just a little bit extra. Okay, there. Okay, let me throw some light around with a control point. Right there. We need a little bit more there. Now, let me see, maybe cropping just a little. Let me see what it looks like if I crop that lamp out. Because the picture's not balanced too well. Let me throw in just a little light to those trees and see if that does anything. No. Yeah, I think this is a separate shot up here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to crop in down to here. So we have a light, dark, a light here. Need a little more light on the subject and a little bit more light in here, I think. So I'm going to tighten up the luma so I don't affect the shadows. Okay. A little bit right there. Let's see. Don't think we need one there too much. All right, let's work on the gentleman there. Make a new mask. See if we can just bring him in a bit. Maybe add a little warmth. And then I like the reds and brown, and this is, I guess, a yellow. Let me try. Okay, we'll leave the white balance there. Maybe individually working on these colors. So this is kind of an orangey red. Going to shift it just a little bit more red. Okay. And then what's up here? Is this truly, that's, I'll come back to the guy's face because I'm overlapping some of the colors in here by doing it globally, but that's okay. What's this up here? This is a greenish, so yeah, I'm not having much effect there. Okay, a little bit more light in this corner. I'm going to do a separate control point. Oops, I need a new mask. Let me just do in the highlights, maybe a little bit in the midtone. Tighten up the luma a bit. Okay. All right, let me go back to this guy's face. Just warm it up a tiny bit. Let's add a little light to his jacket. Okay. Then just a tiny bit more on the perspective. Okay. I think that's it. Let me export this because it's a little bit high ISO here. So when I export as JPEG, I turned off all these other settings I had because I was doing a client work. But you want to make sure you export in sRGB. And that should be ready shortly. Let's see. I can check the progress right here. The first one always takes a little bit longer, but yeah, about 20 seconds or 19 seconds there, not bad. So we'll set this as the reference. Let's reset it, and then we'll do a side by side. Okay, so yeah, I think that looks better. I really like the colors in here, so that's why I kind of amplified those. And then I wanted to emphasize these shadows a little bit, so I brightened up the lighter areas without brightening the shadows. And then of course brought out the guy's face a little bit and his jacket, so you could see this blue. So it's a good mix of colors here. I like it. He's a little bit out of focus, but that's okay. I think that came out okay. All right. Let's do. Well, let me check the chat section because that's 3 images, real quick. Okay, so I see Bamsum is here. Good afternoon. Good to see you. Good morning, Shri. Good to see you. Gonna go to Conowingo tomorrow, right? So we'll see you up there. And wow, we have someone from Rome here. Ioros. Very good. And the sun is up in Arizona. Nice. And Paul is here. Jeff is here. Good to see you guys. And oh, that's me. Yeah, sorry about that. I did restart, but that didn't fix it. I just kept plugging and unplugging the mic jack, and it eventually worked. I don't know if that was the trick or not, but and hammers, yeah. Okay. Has anyone had any luck shooting stars these days? It peaks on the night to December 14th, about 150 shots per. I haven't tried at all. I've never done shooting stars intentionally. And audio's good. Audio's good. Thank you. Thank you, Bamseth. AV is good. Thank you, Darko. And all good. Thank you. And wow, from the UK, good to see you, John. Good morning, Darko. And you look cold, going to be 65 in Atlanta today. Oh, man. I know, I'm a little bit overdressed, but, you know, it was so cold in my house this morning. I got up, it was 48 degrees. So, you know, in my house. Outside was like 27 or something, but, oh, 70, I'm so jealous. And Dan, good to see you. And Heather has a question here. What's the difference between micro contrast and contrast? Uh, Contrast, well, it's easier to demonstrate than to explain, but let's say you have a sharp line, right? And on one side of the line is gray, and the other side of the line is white, right? So we have white, a black line, and gray. When you adjust the contrast, the white and the gray are going to be either less different or more different. So if you increase the contrast, the gray is going to get darker and the white is going to go whiter if that's possible, right? If there's any room for that at all. But generally, that's what's going to happen. If you reduce the contrast, right, the gray is going to get lighter and the white might get a little bit darker. So that's kind of the idea of increasing and decreasing contrast. Micro contrast is going to only make changes to where there's really strong contrast. So we have this black line in the middle, right? So micro contrast is going to look along the edges of that line and try and do the same thing, make things darker and brighter. Depending if you want to increase the contrast, it'll try and make things darker and brighter. It'll try to make darker things darker and brighter things brighter, but only along that line, right? So you have to be careful with micro contrast, because if you do it too much, you might start to see a little bit of what they call haloing, right? Where you sort of got a black line, sort of a white area, and then it gets dark again, right? Just in a very small area. So micro contrast tries to focus on really fine areas of contrast, whereas regular contrast looks at the entire image, right? And tries to brighten and darken everything at the same time. And micro contrast doesn't try to do that. Micro contrast really only looks at the edges. So when I was doing the clouds, for example, right? I can go back to that. So these clouds, if you look at the contrast slider, I didn't really have to do anything because I did everything with local adjustments. But if I increase the contrast here, right, you can see the darks got darker, the brights got a little brighter, but everywhere. And if I reduce it, you know, everything, the darks get a little lighter, things get a little softer. Whereas micro contrast, as I increase this, you can see it's really looking into the clouds and trying to separate all the little smaller points in the clouds and not the entire cloud. Same thing with down here. And if I reduce this all the way down, the overall contrast didn't change much, but the contrast between all the different fine lines and points in the clouds and in the grass are much softer. So that's reducing contrast kind of globally. And then this is reducing contrast kind of more in a local area. So let me just make a virtual copy, and then we'll compare these side by side. So we'll do that one that way. Let's go to this one. And then I'll set this as the reference. So this is global contrast. This is local or micro contrast, I think. Let me look again. Yeah, this is the micro contrast. That's the global contrast. So you see how the micro contrast kind of focused on just the smaller areas, or the lines in between everything. And then the global contrast, everything looks a little bit softer because it just reduced the, you know, contrast on everything. And then if we go the opposite direction, oops, I accidentally changed it on both at the same time. But you kind of get the idea, I think. I hope that makes sense. I have to deselect. Let me put this here and go to this one. And now let's do a side by side. So the global contrast, you can see like these highlights are higher. It almost looks the same, but on my screen I can see a very, very subtle difference between the two. Hopefully you can see that too. Like here on the micro contrast, you can see the clouds are much more defined because the contrast is going into the smaller parts of the scene rather than the overall. Okay. Good question. Very good question. Bamsa says, I haven't found any good edit on my photo too, so I'm looking how you will do it. Maybe I can get a perspective. Okay, William. Oh, I think I just did yours, didn't I? Was this? Yeah, this one. So hopefully you like that edit. And has anyone ever lost setting adjustments after DxO update? You know, I didn't pay attention, but I didn't lose any of my presets or anything. And Dan says, I put a support ticket. My exported JPEGs were not sharp. They responded pretty quickly that the camera lens models were not being applied. Appears they issued another build. Oh, okay. And it's working now. Very good. Good explanation on contrast. Okay, I'm glad that made sense. And Anthony says, right now I'm only using PureRaw 5 as pre-developer. Will not be purchasing Photolab 9 until purchase a new MacBook Pro. Okay. I think you're all set with PureRaw. I don't know what editing software you're using, but you could even use something like Affinity, which is free now, to edit your photos, and just use PureRaw to pre-process before you take it into Affinity. Or if you have Nick Collection, you can use Viveza to edit your photos after you've exported from PureRaw. You can go to Nick Collection and use Viveza. Viveza, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, has a lot of the editing tools that you'll find in Photolab. But the workflow is very, very different. It's not quite as intuitive, in my opinion, but okay, let's go back to the editing. So we have one here from Larry. Wow, nice and punchy. So let's apply basic preset. And this looks familiar for some reason. Not so much this statue, but like this, it sounds silly, but this tree in the background looks familiar. I don't know why. Like I've seen this scene before, but not from this angle. I think composition-wise, I normally like front and center, but the dog down here, or whatever this animal is a little bit too low in the frame. So I'm going to crop down, maybe down to here. Let's see if I can get, I think that works a little better. So, oh, it's not a dog. It looks like maybe a deer or something. A doe. It's a little bit tight on the guy here. Let's try. Yeah, we're at 3:2. I think right about there. I think that's a little more intimate, this picture, because this is a very intimate scene, right? A boy feeding this doe. So I think this works. So all I have to do, because this is really dark here relative to the background, I just need to temper maybe the background a little bit. And that's it. And maybe bring the eyes out a little bit. So let's start with the boy's eyes a little bit. And just bring that up. Maybe introduce some micro contrast. And we can do the same thing to the doe's eye there. Okay, let's just temper the background. So make a new mask. Wonder if we can use the AI to kind of select all that. Let's see, without crashing. No. Let's try in a rectangle. We need to add a little bit more, so I'm going to do a sub mask and just bring that in. Let's do another sub mask. And I'm just using the auto selection mask here. All right, let's start with the highlights. We'll do midtones and shadows. And then we'll just pull. Maybe we can blur it a little bit too. Okay. And then I'm going to see if I can temper the highlights a little bit on the statue there. Let's just do control points. Let me see how much I can pull back in here. A little bit there with a little bit of micro contrast. I just want to temper these down a bit. Okay, I think that's it. So I'm just going to do a side by side with, compare it against the original. So yeah, I really like this scene. I just wanted to make it a little more intimate and come in closer, because this is just too small in the frame, and this is really an important part to me. Being able to see this guy a little more in the frame. So I think this fits well. And then brightening the eyes so you can see the eyes a little better, and that's about it. And then just darkening and blurring the background so it's not so bright. I think that looks good. I bet this would look good as a black and white too. Let's see. I'd have to work on it a little bit, like use a channel mixer. Something like that, and then brighten it. That kind of, no, I like the color better. Anyhow, I think that looks best in color. I like the little turquoise rocks there. Okay. All right. Oh, sorry, Arios, you have to go. Sorry I didn't get to it. It's somewhere down here, right? All right, so let's see. We have one here from Ishan. And I definitely need to, there's a little optics module I might be able to download here. Ishan sent me a JPEG. So let's do that. Canon X90. Wow, I think that's an older Canon. But let's go ahead and apply a basic preset. So I'm not going to have a lot of wiggle room, but I think for this scene, I don't need much because it's pretty dark as it is. But I'm going to just enhance that a little bit. Let's apply a perspective correction and maybe just a slight crop because this one little part is a little distracting. Just go there. And let's come up and balance a little bit. I really like this part of the bridge to be about a third of the way in. Not sure. I don't know if it really needs to be that. I would like this part to be a little bit more in the frame, but I think we're going to be stuck here. Let's see. The balance is not too bad. It's just a little bit too much water for me. Let's try 5x4. And come up. Let's try that. Yeah, I like that. That's a little better. Okay, so the water, maybe we can just paint a little bit of extra light in here and there. So I'm going to come in closer. And try and pick a bright, yeah, there we go. We'll do that. Soften that maybe. No, it's fine the way it is. Okay. Should I try to bring some color back? Okay, that's about as much as I can do with a JPEG. So we'll just do a side by side. And so I like this framing, this vertical framing, but it was just a little bit too much water for me. So I just cropped into a 5x4. And I got rid of this one little piece up here by cropping, but I wanted to keep this corner line coming in, ideally to bring your eye into this. It needs a little bit of straightening, just a tiny bit more straightening, but I think other than that, that would be my final edit. And I just brightened it up overall for the sky mainly, and just the highlights in the water. And I think that's a little bit more dramatic. Okay, but yeah, it needs a little bit of horizon tilt. All right, we have a hockey scene. So let's see. Looks good. Let's do a basic preset. And we need to straighten it a tiny bit. Let's try the auto. Yeah, the auto's going to jack it up. So I'm going to do verticals only down here. Because if I try to do vertical and horizontal, you're going to get that weird, you know, perspective correction that we don't want. Okay. Now the puck is here. So we need to make sure if there's a way we can draw the eye into the puck. Maybe a slight tilt. All right. Overall, the exposure's fine. Let's just bring in a little bit of light into people's faces. These are kind of darker ones here. A little bit of micro contrast. Okay. I'm going to bring a little more light on this guy, since he's the one with control here. And then let's bring a little light in here. See if we can spread that a little bit. Almost like a reverse vignette. Okay. Globally, I could stand to use just a tiny bit more light. And maybe debating if I need, I'm going to do it a little tighter crop. Debating if I need much more than what's right here. Go out. I hate cutting off the goalie. I think that's a little better. Or in here. I think I'll go with this. So I don't know if I really need this other guy. I mean, it's not much difference between these two. This way I keep all the players that are in the frame. Yeah, I think that's it. Let me export that, and then we'll compare. Okay, let's do a side by side. Uh-oh. Okay, so here's my edit here on the left, and there's the original on the right. I feel like we could have gone a little tighter, either cutting this guy off or cutting this guy out. Were not for their their hockey stick being in the frame, which is okay, but might as well keep all the players in there. And then I just added sort of a little brightness overall right in here. It's clipped slightly, which is okay, because the action here is on the puck. So I think that works. I don't know if maybe we can check some of the finer details. See how we did here. Yeah, it cleaned up very nicely, I think. So, okay, I think that works. Good job on the white balance too. Sometimes in hockey rings, you get kind of a weird color sometimes from the lighting. So I guess the white balance is set on auto. Yeah, Olympus does a really good job with white balance. It's amazing. All right, let's do the next one. Let's see. I didn't see who this was from. This is from Hans, okay. So let's apply basic preset. And let's do perspective correction. Okay. I think we can get rid of this guy. And his shadow. Then come in over here. Maybe I don't want to lose the spires. I think that's a little cleaner. I need a little more foreground though. And the verticals are just a tiny bit off. Okay. Just come in. Okay, I think, that is tight. There's not much room up here and not enough down here. I like all of these buildings though, all at once. But I'm wondering if I can just do this. Just so there's a little more space around. I think I'll go with this. Because when I had the horizontal, it just looked too tight here, and there wasn't enough foreground. Okay. Not sure if this needs much more than maybe just a little bit of a color pop. Let's go to vibrant. And a little micro contrast, and we'll call it. Add a little lighting. I don't know if I need to do anything in here. Because we have really good light on the building. think that's it. So, okay, let's do a side by side. So pretty straightforward edit, just a some minor perspective correction, right? And a crop to kind of balance the scene a little bit. You know, this guy's a little distracting. This shadow is distracting. And just coming in, I should have cropped just a little bit more here, but that's okay. And a little bit of color pop. That's about it. That's all that's needed because we have really good lighting as it is. And the subject is filling the frame. So what we have to do when I run into architectural things like this, I always think about the door, right? The entrances. And I don't really see one on this building. So I didn't worry about cropping I mean, if the door was here on the side, I would have a different maybe mindset, but I don't see any doors here. Where is the door? How do you get in that building? Anyway, maybe you don't. Maybe you go in here to get to that building. So I always think about the doors when I think about architecture. So in this framing here, the door is kind of in the center, right? So that was the best I can do, and I wanted to make sure I had enough like space around the top and bottom in particular for this frame. So okay, I think that framing works. Okay, let's do one more. Let's see, this one's from Marat. This feels a little bit soft. Oh, it's an XZ1. No wonder. So let's apply basic preset. And let's see, you got a bird here attacking the sprinkler. It's a nice reflection, though, of the trees here. I don't think I need any of this up here. And we need a little bit of a horizon correction, but let's come all the way in and just get this reflection and these three birds. And then let me try the smart lighting. No, we're gonna have to do it manually. But this crow is kind of bragging to this one. This guy's jealous. And this guy's just doing his own thing. Never seen these like two-tone crows. That's really cool. Okay, so I'm going to enhance the colors on the water, the reflections, bring out some of the birds' features. So let's just do that. Some micro contrast. So I want that bird to stand out. I don't think I can use the same one here, but we can try. Yeah, that's too strong. So we're going to make a new one. And kind of the same idea. Just let me tighten up the luma just a little bit. I just want to bring out some of the features. Okay. That looks good. Now let's do some of the water. I don't think this brush would be the right one, but let's see how we do. Okay, not bad. Add a submask, do the other side. Might do this water separately. Let's just try some clear view and a little vibrancy. And then this might work up here. I can try. I'm going to make it use a little smaller brush and see what happens. Okay, good. A little bit there. All right, let's just bring a little bit of contrast here. Maybe temper the highlight there, and we'll be done. So let's just use a mask here. Some micro contrast. And then over here, we'll just temper this one down a bit. Give it some contrast. And I think this bird needs just a little bit of light around him. Maybe this bird too. Okay, and I just do a global brightening again. Some overall contrast. And then I'm going to make it a little darker here in this corner. Okay, and then a little bit of straightening. I should have done that first. Okay, we'll export that. Let me see, I just saw a comment from Heather. I don't really see a halo there. It looks okay to me. But yeah. Hold on. Did it not reset? Something's not right. Give me a second here. This one. Oh, there we go. Reset that. And then we'll compare it to that one. All right. All right, so here's the original on the left, and my edit on the right. Again, I just making the scene a little more intimate, just cropping in a little closer, accentuating the reflections in the water, you know, here and there, and also the highlights in the bird, so you can see them a little better, because they're kind of silhouetted here and here and here. So just bringing them out more so you can see them. And I think that looks pretty good. So maybe a split view, it'll be a little more obvious, you know, kind of the differences. Yeah. I think that looks pretty good. Okay. All right, so let me check the chat section real quick. Let's see where I left off here. Oh, Intrigue is here. Good to see you, Eric. And yep, I caught that. So Arios will catch up with you. Hopefully you like my edit. Haven't got to yours yet, though, I don't think, at this point. And let's see. Ish is here. And oh, you're telling me what this is, the Boyce Thompson Arboretum. Okay. And then do you ever use AI to remove distractions versus a crop? Example, buildings with the guy in the front. Well, I don't use Lightroom much because Lightroom has object removal, right? Where you can kind of brush over a guy like in that photo and it'll remove him completely. Only time I do that is like in some of my architectural work that I do for clients, you know, where I need a clean shot of the building, then I might do that. But for my personal stuff, I try not to do that. I try to capture the moment while I'm there in the field to either incorporate people or not incorporate people. And for me, what I found is you get better at pointing the camera and making your compositions when you're thinking about everything in the scene. If you approach a scene thinking, I'm going to fix this later, that's a little bit different, right? Than approaching a scene and really analyzing the composition with and without these distractions. Because they may not be distractions, because distractions sometimes are actually highlights for the image. You know, like, I mean, an extreme example would be you have this, you know, you just have a building and you have a crowd of people, right? But in this crowd of people, there's one woman there with a bright red dress on, right? So that would be a highlight, right, in the photo, where you have this crowd of people in a building and one person there kind of stands out. In the photo that I edited that had the one guy on the right side and there was a shadow on the other side, those to me were distractions and not highlights, right? Or another way to look at it are accents. Sometimes little things in a frame can be an accent. Like if there was a bird somewhere on this pavement there in that scene, we'll just go back to, let's go back to that image. So in this scene here, right, if there was a little bird or some pigeons down in here, those would not be distractions to me. They would be sort of accents to the overall scene. But the way where's the original? Is the original even still around? Anyway, you know, hopefully you get the idea. I didn't articulate that too well, but you try to, when you approach a scene, you try to look for accents, you look for highlights that you can incorporate into composition, and you get better at it if you do it while you're there in the field versus, you know, some people might look at that and say, okay, I'll just remove that guy or those birds, or I'll remove whatever, that lamppost in post-processing. When they approach the scene and they look at the composition, it's a very different mindset of thinking, what can I do to incorporate the things in the scene and how can I use those versus, you know, what can I fix later in post-processing. So I try not to use AI. I use AI for my commercial clients when I'm doing buildings, for example, because everything other than the building in a commercial sense, right, for paid clients is a distraction. We're not talking about creativity or art. You know, we're not trying to create art here or fine art. I'm delivering a product of a building, which the building is the subject, and everything else would be a distraction. I can't remove like power lines or trees, all of that in commercial and real estate. You have to leave a lot of things in there, lampposts. You can't remove things that are actually physically there, but you can remove distractions like people and birds, right? But power lines and trees and things like that, I don't remove. But if there's a trash can in front of the building, like if it's trash day on, let's say it's a residential property and they left their trash cans out in the front, either they did or their neighbor did, those things I remove with AI. Because I'm delivering the product as the house or the building, not the trash can, which would be a distraction. So, but if I was doing it for my personal stuff, I would not approach the scene, see the trash cans and say, I'll just remove those in post-processing later, right? I look at the scene with the trash cans and I think about, can these trash cans be an accent or a highlight of the scene and be a message or tell a story? You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So, okay. Are we able to get rid? Yeah, I didn't see a halo. I didn't see a halo when I looked at it. And Eric, good to see you. AI removal is like 50-50. Small removals, easy, big objects turn into, yeah, I agree. And Lightroom AI removal got better on the extra people remove. Yep. Yeah, AI's, the removal tool in Lightroom is really good. I do use it for my commercial work, but not so much for my personal. And Mark, good morning. I just came upon this live video, saw one last Saturday the same way, instantly came upon it. Is there a schedule you keep with PL9 editing live? Yes, Fridays, generally Fridays at this time. Assuming I got audio and video working. But I try to do them every Friday. Friday morning my time. Because I'm not sure where you are, but yeah, I live in Maryland, USA. So, and Mark says, got the idea. Okay, sorry, I got a little long-winded on that. All right. Let's go to the next one. And, all right, I have a great blue heron. Tiny bit overexposed. When I do herons, I typically dial in like -2, sometimes -3 exposure compensation when I'm taking pictures of a blue heron, because they have this very strong white feathers here that often get clipped when you get shots of them. All right, I think a vertical might work here. Let's just try a 4x3 vertical. Okay, and then I'm going to just bring the exposure down, and hopefully, yeah, some of the highlights are clipped, but see, if I did this in camera, I would expose it this way, like 2 stops under, and then I would, looks like the highlights are still there, but I would expose it this way to make sure, because if the sun was out and the lighting was really strong, those highlights would have been clipped very easily. So when you do blue herons, just dial in -2, and you should be good in post-processing. And I'm saying dial in -2 with the intent to post-process. If you're just shooting straight out of camera, then you may not want to do that. Okay. So I'm going to do -2. Maybe -1.5. That's good. And then I'm going to try and make the water a little bit darker. So we'll just use a control line. I can probably come up a little tighter. And we'll start with the black areas down here. Maybe not that much. Add some clear view. But let's maintain some of the some of the color. Okay, right about there. And then let's see if we can get AI to pick out the bird. Let's make a new mask. Yeah, that's good. Make a submask, come down in here. And I'm just going to brighten him up just a tiny bit. About a quarter stop. A slight pull on the highlights. Some micro contrast. And just a little vibrancy. And when I say a little, vibrancy is a very soft slider. Okay. There's a little bit too much yellow on the, oops, a little bit too much yellow on him. So maybe just go in here and just pull that back a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going to work on the eye a tiny bit. And just let's accentuate that eye. Bring back a little bit of the color. Gonna have to come in a lot tighter. Okay, very good. Let me go back to the water. I think I can do a better job there. Let's do that. Let me cool it off a tiny bit too, maybe. Okay, this one spot right here is a little distracting, this plant here. So, and it's blurry anyway, so I might be able to just brush it out. Let's see. Okay. It's not bad. Just a little bit more here. And here. All right, good enough. All right, let's export that. And then let me just make sure I got all of that. Let's see if I can bring some sharpening back in. So I'm going to use the loop tool, because it's just a little bit soft. Let me see if I do this. That helps push the details out. And let's try big radius on the unsharp mask. Right in there, and I'm getting a little bit of fringing too. So let me see if I can get rid of some of that. Not so much. Okay, I think that's it. So let's export that. do it side by side. Okay, so here's the original on the right. And like I said, with herons, I typically dial in -2 exposure comp just to make sure I save the highlights. And that also gives you a big jump on your shutter speed and ISO. By using a -2, you got 2 stops of ISO and shutter speed that you can apply. So that helps a lot, because I would have liked to have done this, seen this shot, you know, maybe at 1/1000th of a second. I forget what the ISO was. ISO 4000. So 1/500th is pretty good for just a bird standing there, but if you dialed in -2 exposure comp, you would have been at what? ISO 1000 instead of 4000. And then, you know, it's easy enough to brighten to this level. But just a thought. But the main thing was trying to bring in the eye, bring in some of the color, and then make the water a little bit more reflective, right? So yeah, it's a shame there's all these little sticks and twigs all the way around. But other than that, I think it's a great shot. So if we do the slider, let's see, let's look at how we did on the details. So yeah, we did a big improvement, a little bit of haloing. But that's in the original shot too, so. But overall, not bad. Not bad. Certainly got rid of all the noise and sharpened it up quite a bit. So, nice shot. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Let's see. This one is from Jeff. Okay. All right, so we got a lot of wiggle room here. Let's apply basic preset. And let's do a vertical crop. Maybe 5x4. Just come in, put the bird right there. It's a little bit out of balance. I think that's good. A little bit more off the top. All right. That looks good. All right, so let's fix the eye a little bit. Get some color in there. I always like to try to get the pupil out if I can. Okay. And let's do a little bit on the beaks. So I always try to do eyes, beaks, and talons when I do birds. In this case, we only have the eye and beak. I'm going to make a new mask a little bit separate. And just do the same thing. A little bit of clear view and micro contrast. Maybe a slight push on the brightness. Yeah. Okay. And then let's do something with the background. What if we do AI background? Let's see what happens. We're on version 9.3. Hopefully there's always a little bug sometimes. It's been, especially when I do AI masking, like I have to restart. Yeah, didn't see it. So, oh yeah, I got this error. I get this error a lot whenever I use the AI masking. So I'm gonna have to restart it. Ugh. I don't know if it's like my NVIDIA drivers or if it's this. Um, but I found that just using the brush or the rectangle tool and stuff works better than the AI selection tool, at least on my computer. Oh, come on, just close. Give me a second here. I'll give that a moment. Okay, we're almost there. So yeah, Heather, you get that error a lot as well. I don't know what it is. Somebody's got to fix that, either NVIDIA or Photolab. One of them's got to get that right. People on Mac and people that use that other company, AMD, the Radeons, they don't seem to have this problem, but it seems to be with NVIDIA. Okay, where's my... Okay, Photolab's rebooting here. Version 9.3.0, build 558. Oh, that's interesting. Mine crashes a fair amount if I select the video driver versus the RAM as, yeah. If I do CPU only, like if I turn off the video graphics, the AI works great, but man, everything is really slow, right? And then Leonard says, is there a way to reset the preset panel so that it doesn't overwhelm the image to roll over the options before choosing to see what it looks like compared to other options? Not that I'm aware of. Yeah, the preset panel just comes up and covers everything, right? Yeah, it's annoying as all get out. So yeah, for me, like I said, I just use the other tools. Make sure you have the latest NVIDIA driver, obviously, and the latest version of DxO. But yeah, I just avoid the AI tool if I can help it. I use it sometimes and it works great, but then sometimes I get that error. So I just don't bother using it. I just use the other AI tools like the pointer, the rectangle tool, and the automatic brush, the auto masking brush sort of incorporates a little bit of AI as well. And those all seem to work pretty well. Okay. And Jeff says you get it on Windows, but not your Mac. Yeah, I don't know. Mac seems to be good. And Mark Leonard says, my Radeon graphics driver is built in and crashes. If it is dedicated graphics card, I don't think it would be the same problem. Maybe. It is what it is. They'll work it out. But I usually get through a whole session without it crashing now, at least. When I first got version 9, yeah, it was a little rough. But now we're okay for about 90%. All right, so we're back to Jeff's image here. So I'm going to use the pointer this time and just point to the bird. Yeah, that's good. Let me invert that because I just want to darken the background a little bit. But yeah, the pointer tool works great. It's pretty much AI selection, right? So I'm going to darken everything here, not that much. And I'll just brighten the bird back up. I'm going to go back to the tool. Okay, that's about right. All right. Let's make a new mask and select the bird again. And I want to get a little bit more color separation. Let me just try vibrancy or saturation. I think that works better. I'm going to turn the vibrancy down, add some saturation. So that should give me a little better separation of the colors. Definitely need some micro contrast. Just a touch. And maybe a little bit of warmth. And a little less magenta. Just want to do some very, very minor. Okay. Go back to this. I think I overdid it here. Right about there. And a little saturation and maybe some warmth. A little less. And let's add a vignette. So to do a vignette is I just turn the chroma, I put a control point where I want the center of the vignette to be. I turn the chroma and luma to 0, then I invert it. And then you can just do exposure. But I like to use just the selective tone sliders and just try to make it look more natural. Like that. Okay. I think that's good. Maybe a little bit of brightness. Okay, let's export that. That's cool. Yeah, the bird's got a bunch of bugs in his mouth, huh? That's pretty cool. All right, let's do a slider. Oh, it's not done yet. All right, let's reset. Okay, so again, just getting more intimate with the subject by cropping in. I think this makes more sense. I was very conscious of the lines here. You know, this corner, you see this corner of the bird's feather right there? I was trying to crop in on this line here, but I think this line worked a little better. This corner and then this corner of the leaf. Just to give it, like I said, I'm always conscious of corners in my cropping. And then, yeah, just bringing out some of the colors and brightening up the eye. And we can kind of get in close and just see what a great job DxO does on these kind of things. It got rid of all the noise, brought back a ton of detail. Look at the eye. You can almost see Jeff standing there. And look at all these bugs. You can see the little eyes on the bugs. But yeah, this came out really nice. And I think that's a fair edit. Whoops. Yep, that looks pretty good. All right, let's do the next one. Oh, another caterpillar. This must be Heather's. I didn't even look. I think Heather, you sent me. Yeah. Um, let's do a basic preset. Apply. And then let's crop in. I think a square crop will be fine on this one. And we'll give him something to hang down to. Let me see. I think right about there. Yeah, I think that works. Okay. Let's see if we can just darken the background a little bit. Maybe let's just use this brush. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Yeah, it's a little sloppy. Let's not do that. Well, it'd be easier. Sometimes I just make things harder than they should be. Let's just use the AI tool and just point to this guy. Okay, and then invert it. And then let's just do a linear pull, just a little bit darker. Okay. That's good. Let's brighten up overall the global side. Maybe go back to the mask and pull it back. Let's give the image a little bit of warmth. And I'm going to darken the left side down a bit. And then brighten the right side a tiny bit. Give it some warmth. Okay, and let's just pull it down. Maybe, no, I think I had the right idea, but I just need a little bit more light over here. Tighten up the chroma a bit. Okay, some micro contrast. And then we'll temper the lighting up here. Just pull the highlights and some micro contrast. And then I'm going to work on the speculars a little bit here. I'm just going to pick some of these out. Micro contrast. Okay. And then these little markings on the side. I think I can get away with just using the same control point. Okay. And this front needs a, there's one here. The front of this guy could use just a little bit more contrast. I'm going to make a new mask. Not there. This one I just need to temper. Okay, let's do a little vignette. Right about there, inverted, 0, 0, and just pull these in a bit. Okay, just a tiny bit more crop. Let's export that. And we'll do a side by side. Okay, so here's the original, and that's my edit there on the left. So yeah, heavily cropped in, but we had a lot of detail there we could hone in on. But I definitely use a lot of micro contrast on the speculars just to give it a little more pop overall. So if we do a split view and see how this looks, I think that looks really good. The details came out really nice. Say versus probably side by side and just zooming in would be easier. But yeah, the little water droplets and things, you know, you just drop little control points on them and crank up the micro contrast and highlights, and you can really make the water droplets pop. Like this, it's real obvious on that one, right? But you know, you saw me just drop control points everywhere, just to emphasize the water droplets. Okay, cool. Let's do the next one here. This one's from David. Oh, gosh, this looks familiar. I think this is... No. Down here is not. I was going to say this looks a little bit like Georgetown from the... But yeah, it's not. I'm pretty sure it's not. I haven't been to DC in about, you know, this part of DC since I was in college. All right, so let's apply basic preset. Yeah, I haven't been down to Georgetown since college days. Wow. Actually, I did go there a couple of times after college, like in my 30s, early 30s. All right, there's a little bit of green in here. And let me just brighten this up and see if there's anything in here. Oh, I think we're good. We just need to temper the highlights a bit, and the sky has some nice color too. So we'll come back to that. But I'm just going to do some quick global changes. This scene doesn't need a whole lot. A little bit of push here, and then we just have to work with the color a little bit because they're a bit strong. Primarily like this greenish yellow. We can shift that a little more orange. Okay. Maybe just bring them in a bit. Maybe desaturate a little too. Yeah. And do the same thing with this. Just desaturate a bit. Okay, good. Let's drop a control point and just temper the highlights a bit. Give it some micro contrast. Do the same thing there. Let's make this smaller. And a little more contrast. Maybe clear view. Yeah, just a little bit there. That one actually I could use a little extra light right there. A little bit of warmth maybe. And like I said, whenever I add light, like I'm doing here, I tend to add a little bit of warmth to it. How about that building? Right in there. A little bit there. And then let's do the sky. A little bit tighter on the chroma. Ooh, too much, too much. Just wanted to be a little bit more contrast and brightness. Okay. And then globally, let's dial back the saturation a bit. Let's try vibrance. Yeah, that's a little better. All right. Yeah, the composition is perfect. I can't think of anything I would do differently here. Maybe just a little bit off the bottom, but I think it's balanced very nicely. This blue might just need to be dialed back a bit. Let me drop it. Yeah, there we go. And then a little less clear view. I think that's it. So I'll export that. And we'll do a quick comparison here. Did that reset or not? Yeah, reset. It just doesn't look like I did very much. Okay. So this is my edit on the left, and that's the original on the right. So it's just about very, very subtle changes on this one. Just a little more color in the sky. A slight shift here in the color here because there's a little bit green. And then just spots of light here and there, like here and over here and over here. Just little bit more brightness in a couple of spots. I think that's all this image needed. Other than that, it's very nice. Okay. Maybe we can do a quick split view since I didn't have to crop and see if we really brought in. Oh, this is easier to see the difference if I do this. So that's the original. And then there's my edit. But particularly you can see here, I didn't like this green in here. And if we go way in, we can try and see if, yeah, even though this was a base ISO image, you know, we still cleaned up some noise because there's, you know, in the shadows, that's where all the noise hides. I think we did a good job. I could have probably added a little bit of sharpening. A little sharpening would have done some good here. Because this must be a little bit of a long exposure. But okay, very good. Let's go to what do we have here? We got 3 more to go. Ooh, wow, why does this look familiar? I think I did this one last week. This looks really familiar. Yeah, I think I did this one last week. Let me take a look. I need to delete these. I think, Heather, I don't know if I sent you you wanted me to send you an edit of your image. I don't think I sent it yet. That's why I still have this folder here. Oh, it was this one. This one was, that's what's throwing me off. I did a bird with its wings up. That's why. All right, let's just do it. Where is it? Okay, so let's apply basic preset. And did you have spot me? Oh, center weighted metering. I was wondering why looks a bit overexposed, but this looks. Oh, I've done a picture of this same scene, this stump with a crow on it, but there was no bird in it last time, pigeon over here. Now there's a pigeon, but that's what threw me off because I did a pigeon just like this last week, or a seagull. But anyway, let's see if we can bring this down a bit. Like so. Did I apply? Yeah, I applied the preset. Let's crop off the left side a tiny bit. And we need to bring some color back in because that's going to be a little tough because we're at ISO 20,000. Okay, let me come down here. Ooh, we got motion blur. Yeah, I mean, I understand the motion blur here, but the motion blur here, this guy's about to take off, right? He's like, so that's why there's motion blur. So let's fix the eye a bit. I'm going to try and bring some color back in. Another way to bring color back in, like if I know this bird's eye is yellow, I can just kind of create a control point and then just shift the white balance like that. Just bring it in tighter. Okay. And maybe just temper it a bit. Let's see if we can bring the highlights in A couple other spots here. Yeah, there we go. There's still some detail in there. Let's do a vignette. Right about there. Okay. We're almost there. Maybe just a little more color in here. So where's the vibrancy? Just do that. Maybe dial the blue off a little bit. Okay, then I want to check the highlights here. Whoops, where's my loop tool? I don't know if I can save those. Yeah, they're gone. So let's work on the sharpening a bit. See if we can mitigate some of this motion blur. Tiny bit of micro contrast. And then let's go to detail. Okay. And the feathers. All right. This is about right for an ISO 20,000 image. This is about right. Okay. Let me check the background here. Maybe just a tiny bit more there. Okay, I think we're good. So export that. Oh, sorry, John. Sorry, John. It's not a crow. It's a jackdaw, or yeah, it's not a crow. The beak is way too small. I would guess a common grackle otherwise, but I've never heard of a jackdaw. Interesting. All right, let's do a side by side and reset this. All right, so here, obviously, here's the original on the right. Just a bit overexposed. So we lost some of the color, but I think we were able to bring the highlights back pretty nicely here, especially on the pigeon's chest. Good color. And, oh, it's a little bit crispy. I didn't check down here in the loop tool. It's a little bit crispy. I'm going to have to dial back some of the sharpness. But let's do a slider. Yeah, it's a little bit crispy here. So I would dial back some of the sharpness on that. But I think we came out pretty good, considering where we started from. If there wasn't motion blur here, this would have been a pretty crisp image, I think. And then let's go up to the dove or pigeon. Yeah, that looks great. So yeah, I think that came out really good. Really nice. Okay. Yeah, maybe it's a UK naming thing. I don't know. I mean, there's so many birds that have different names, but they look almost identical, right? All right. Like there's some birds like they got different names and they look exactly the same, except the tail on one is like a centimeter longer. So it has a slightly longer tail, but it has like a completely different name. Anyhow, but other than that, they look identical. All right, this is an interesting one. Very Halloweenish. So let's apply basic preset, and composition wise, this is gonna mess it up if I do this. Well, actually it didn't do bad. Okay, so we'll keep that. Let's amplify the reflections here. This light here, that's gotta be the moon, because it's so much cooler. And see if we can bring out some of the clouds some more. I think that's all I need to do with this one, and maybe the contrast in the windows. So composition though, I think I don't mind this too much. Some clipped highlights there. Can fix that pretty easily. Oops. There, let's do that. And then let's see what we can do with the clouds. Perfect. Add some micro contrast. Tiny bit of clear view and a slight pull on the highlights. Okay. And let's fix some of the highlights in the windows. Then let's brighten up some of these other windows. So I'm going to do a tighter chroma mask. And same thing in there. I think these are good. These are good. These are good. So a little bit more in the midtones. And give them a little warmth. Okay, and then let's do the water. Make a new mask. Just come up to about here. Throw in some clear view. Some contrast. Let's pull back the Luma mask a bit. And the chroma. And I think I'll make this spot in here a little bit tighter chroma and Luma. Let's cool that off. Okay. Just temper the highlights here a little bit too. Okay. See where we're at here. Gosh, there's a really strong light hitting this building. Where's that coming from? Let's make this kind of gritty. And here, a little bit tighter on the luma. And we'll just add some micro contrast. And just pull in the brightness a little bit. I just can't believe how strong the light is on this building. Okay. And then let's brighten up the building on the end. This one. And this one. Okay, sorry, I need to check something real quick. All right, I think I'll call it there. So let's export that. I'll wait for this. All right, so it's my edit here on the left, the original on the right. Didn't need a whole lot, slight perspective correction, and then just balancing the light a little bit because there's a spotlight or something right on the building here. So I just wanted to balance that a little bit all the way out to the end. Tempered the highlights here and brought out the texture and the clouds, the brightness there. I didn't make it even because the moon is here. So of course the light's going to graduate out naturally this way. So that's why I kind of just left it as it is. And then made the water black as much as I can and cooled off this spot here because I'm assuming this is the moon, but I'm not 100% sure that this is the moon. This might be a spotlight or something that's causing the light here. I'm not sure exactly. But okay, I think that came up pretty good. And if we want to look at some of the details, you can see what I did with the brickwork here. I really wanted to bring out the details. Whenever I get this like old brick or this, I think it's beautiful, this brick, I always try to bring out the details on that. So that came out pretty nice all the way across the board there. Yeah, really cool image. All right, so let's see. One more here. So I'm running out of steam. Okay, let's apply a preset. And oh, Heather, this is a good example of an accent, right? This guy walking here. He's a real nice accent to the building, even though he's not necessarily the subject. And beautiful frame. Wow, this is a really good shot. I don't think I need to do anything but adjust some of the lighting. And there's a slight, let me see if the perspective, there's a slight distortion. Yeah, okay, that fixed it. Okay. And I'm just going to brighten it just to kind of see what we have in here. Okay, I think I know what to do here. Wow, you can actually see the guy's shirt or girl's shirt. I can't tell. This person. But I don't think it's important. I think the silhouette is nicer. We just need to bring a little bit of light in from the right side. That's kind of hitting this tree and hitting the side of this gazebo. And maybe, excuse me, a little bit in here. And I think I can do that maybe with a control line. If I put this, let's try that. Okay, and then just a little bit of warmth. Maybe pull this back a bit. Right about there. Okay, and then we'll just add a little bit of extra light on the gazebo. Sorry, I had a little cough. Add a little warmth. I think we need a little warmth in this grass too. Like that. There we go. A little bit there too. And then let's, excuse me, let's do the sky. Make a new mask, control line. We'll start down here pretty low. Bring that up, tighten up the luma. And just throw some clear view in. Micro contrast, and then maybe a little bit of magenta. Tiny bit of warmth. Oh, I'm getting a little bit of haloing when I do that. Let me not do that too much. I like that color right there. Let me go back to this control point. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to darken the sky that much. So, what did I do? Just back that off a bit. Okay, that's better. Let's see where we're at. Hmm. I think that's all I'm going to do. So let's export that. Oh, this is your shot, Paul? Just eyeball in the chat. So you have your edit of this number of different crops. I don't think this image needs to be cropped. I think it looks really good the way it is. If this is your image, whoever this is, yeah, this is yours. I mean, you could crop maybe a little bit here and here, like if we do a 5x4. I mean, that would be the only thing I would do, but I kind of like everything in the frame. Okay, I like the 5x4. Export that. And then we'll compare it. All right, so there's my edit there, and that's the original. We'll compare it with what Paul did. But I like it the way it, I love the image. It's great. And then Heather says, when I zoomed in on the sky, you saw grain on the original, right? That should be gone by now. Yeah, it's pretty much gone. But you're talking about this little bit of grain here, right? Maybe it was this image or one before. Whenever you have an image that's kind of underexposed, that's where the noise is. The noise is always in the shadows. So when you zoom in and look, you're going to see the noise. I mean, on a technical level, what happens is your sensor has a certain amount of noise built into it. And the lower the, maybe it's easier if I go full screen, but your sensor has a certain amount of noise in it already, right? So that's going to be here. And then let's say you have a image, your light is up here, but as you lower the light, right, it gets closer to the noise, the more you're going to see the noise as the light goes lower. So that's how it works. They call it a noise floor, I think. I don't think I need these gloves anymore. These are gloves I made out of my socks or from my socks. All right, so let's see. Yeah, so hopefully that answers the question. Be interested to see what you, yep. Okay, and then I struggled a bit with the sky. I also had a shot without the person, but preferred this one. Yes, it is definitely better. And this is what I mean about accents in an image. They can make a big difference in the image, having that accent or not, right? I think this accent makes it so much nicer. Okay. Oh, and Barbara says, watching this and realizing how much better my photos would be if I know how to edit them. Yeah, just follow along. Send one of your images in, and I'll edit it, and then I can send it back to you, and you can compare mine with yours while you're editing and try and duplicate it. I mean, that's the best way to learn sometimes is just to imitate what somebody else is doing or try to duplicate or copy. And then, from there, you can expand into your own. All right, let me go over to the let's see what's come in, since there's always like 5 or 6 things that come in when oh, thank you for the coffee, Heather. I see I got a coffee from you. I really appreciate that. But yeah, anything that's come in that's new, I'm gonna have to do next week. I'm just out of steam right now. Okay. So there are a few more that came in, but okay, so that's interesting. You went with a square crop. I really like the vertical with all the trees up, with all the branches up top. I like that better than this square crop. But it's all subjective, right? I mean, and the sky looks fine. I don't know why you were struggling. Looks good to me. The only major difference between ours is I made sure the lighting was coming in from the right side. Hitting the side of the gazebo and the side here. So if we go back to my edit, that's the major difference. I have a little bit more dynamic range in my shot, right? From bright to dark versus yours is a little bit more evenly lit all the way around. So yeah, but it looks good. You did a little better job with the sky actually than I did. You brought in the color here in the middle. I didn't really separate that in mine. Yeah, mine is pretty much just all one sort of shade of lavender. But okay. There are some critiques coming in. Shri sent his in. Where did I put that? Shri sent in 3 of the same thing. Sorry, Shri, if you probably left to go out and take pictures, right? But I'm going to see you tomorrow morning at Conowingo. Man, I have to leave my house at 4:30 in the morning tomorrow morning. Yeah, that looks nice. Let's see. This one is just a little tighter without, yeah. So, oh, I'm sorry. This is the original. And this is your edit. Okay. So let's put the original here. And so that's the original. Why can't I get this? I'm sorry. Oh, I created a virtual copy by mistake. Hold on. Give me a second. So we want to use image as reference. All right. So here's the original raw image, and then here's Shri's edit. I like it. I mean, I would have added I would have darkened the background a tiny bit, unless you're going for more of a high key type look. Then I would have brightened this a tiny bit. Otherwise, so a high key look would be. We're not in the edit panel. So this gives me more of a high key vibe, right? The way you edit this one. So I would have probably just done that, or just push the highlights like that and then pull the micro contrast back. So that's the only difference that I would make to this edit that you did. And then let me see, you had one other one here. So this one you cropped out this sort of green spot and this thing, but now it's a little bit off center. Whoops. I know you try to keep this corner, because I preach that a lot. Watch your corners, right? But it feels a little off balance, like there's too much on the left side of this image. So I would have just squared this off, maybe from the top. And I wouldn't worry about that line, maybe. You can also just rotate it, but then it would be kind of crooked. So yeah, this flower is just this twig is a little bit too tight in the frame. See, it just doesn't look right if I try to keep that in there. I don't know if there's enough room for a 16 by 9. No. So I think the best edit was the second one. I appreciate what you're trying to do here. I just don't like this being off center. It's just a subjective choice. Also, you didn't do much with the color here, so you could brighten this a tiny bit, like this, and then punch the colors a little with you know, I'm working with the JPEG, so I think that would have worked. Let's push the shadows a bit and actually dial back this darker part. Make it brighter. Something like that, along those lines. That's what I would have done differently. Okay, and I see X Meta's here. How you doing? You're saying that on the hockey, I was curious how it can cope with noise. Light on this. I thought it did a good job. Yeah. Okay. Good to see you though. All right. And then I think Heather said you sent in your edit. Let's see what you did. Okay, so this is Heather's edit of the caterpillar. Okay, I like the crop. You kind of centered the eye drops and stuff. But you didn't do much with the lighting, really. Let me zoom in a bit. It's not resolving very well here. Unlike, let's see. And I'm assuming you saw the edit of the hockey thing, Xmet. I'm not. Otherwise, I can pull it up for you. I did a square crop. Actually, I think I like your vertical crop better. So yeah, I like the vertical crop. Just go back and work on the water droplets, and I think you'll be good. But yeah, I like the vertical crop better. This space was bothering me a little. But okay. And then just to go back to the hockey rink real quick. If I set that as a reference, just in case you didn't see the edit, we can kind of do a split view. But I thought it did a good job. I mean, it's not an exact one-to-one, but that looks good. Okay. All right, I'm going to call it here. So everyone, thanks for joining me today. It's a long one today. It feels like a long one. I'm just, either that or I'm just really tired. I don't know how, how long I've been on. But as always, thank you so much for sending your images for me to edit and trusting me with those. I always try to do my best and give you some tips along the way. And it's always good to see your edits. So if you want to send your edits in after I'm done with yours, I'll be happy to look at them at the end. Because it's if you send them in at the same time with your raw image, sometimes I get a little confused. So if you can, submit them after I edit yours. And that also helps that I don't get influenced by what you did, right? I like to always look at things with a fresh pair of eyes without seeing what was already done. And if you send them in together, I can't help but see all of them at the same time. So that's it for today. I'll be back on Sunday, God willing, for a normal photo chat, talk about some photography stuff and what I've been up to this week. Yeah, I did another photo job, sort of pro bono. I didn't get paid, but I did make some mistakes there that will be fun to share because I think there's a lesson there in the mistakes that I made. And other than that, you guys have a great rest of your weekend, a great week, and a happy life. Eat healthy, exercise. I'd like to be here with you guys together for a long time. So thanks again for joining me, and I hope to see everyone again soon.